A young female actor who was traveling in her car was kidnapped and sexually assaulted. It was a crime that Kerala watched in shock, and for years, the people of Kerala have been obsessively following it. There are a set of villains. There is an actor who was sexually assaulted. There is a superstar who is accused of conspiring and paying these criminals to do this sexual assault. And then there is a Malayalam film industry and the Kerala society.
There was so much anger towards this actress that she had lost acting opportunities because Dilip had removed her from multiple movies and they used to work a lot together. And ultimately she was isolated in the industry, and then this act of revenge happens. And he'd become this sort of figure who'd gone to jail, and then everyone wanted to talk about him, and then he'd come out, he'd found his way back into cinema, that nobody wanted to ruffle his feathers because everybody would say it's better not to mess with him.
There have been so many setbacks. There have been clear injustices from the court on this victim in many different ways, and still we are not having enough conversation about that, right?
According to the police, the videos were recorded to sort of threaten her and basically tell her that if you speak about this, we will release these videos. The process of justice itself, or the process of trying to get some form of justice, can itself be a process of trauma.
Women are subjected to violence not just once but multiple times if they have the courage to actually go file a complaint.
This wasn't an act of violence that just happened to the survivor. It had its ripple effects on the industry.
I had a bag which said, "I am a feminici." It was such a powerful statement also, right? Women coming out and talking about their experiences.
Weinstein movement, what most of the women told me, was helped them not to look crazy. Because when they came out and they started saying that this isn't a one-off incident, there is a lot of abuse within the industry, a lot of the men reacted to them saying, "Oh, you're just being hysterical. Why didn't you say it back then? Why is all of this coming up now? These are just angry feminists." Feminici became the term that came out at that point. So now when they go on set, men refuse to sit next to them saying, "Oh, what if you do a Me Too? I don't know when you're going to complain about me." So women have also felt isolated. That speaking up has made them tough to work with, that they have lost opportunities, that men don't want to work with them. So,
hello, I'm Dhanya Rajendran and you're watching The News Minute. This week we published a long-form article on a crime that happened in Kerala in February 2017. A young female actor who was traveling in her car was kidnapped and sexually assaulted. It was a crime that Kerala watched in shock, and for years, the people of Kerala have been obsessively following it. We thought, why not have a long-form profile on what happened that led to this crime, who were the people accused of the crime, and what is happening in the trial. The story was brought to you by journalist Nidhi Suresh, and today I will be in conversation with her. What makes the story very intriguing is that there are a set of villains. There is an actor who was sexually assaulted. There is a superstar who is accused of conspiring and paying these criminals to do this sexual assault. And then there is a Malayalam film industry and the Kerala society and their reactions to this crime. Joining me is Nidhi. Nidhi, my first question to you is this entire case, right? Because Dilip was the man who was accused of the conspiracy. It's been widely covered. Whether there's been a long form or not, the point is people have written in bits and pieces about this case continuously. What made you want to go back to the story and write such a long piece on it? And you've interviewed so many people for this. What made you go back?
So I think one of the biggest reasons why I felt like it was a story worth doing was because I am a Malayali, but I'm living in Delhi. And whenever I would have this conversation with people here or anywhere in North India, they had no idea that this had happened, despite what big news it had made in Kerala. And the second part is that I always feel like once an extraordinary act of violence happens and there's a lot of reporting that happens on it, putting it together in a long form piece, the structure itself can tell us a story. I find a lot of value in bits and pieces of reportage being put together, and it says something about the case, about the nature of how society has responded to it, and all of the reporting coming together does something. And I thought that this was a good moment before we started reporting on this, before the verdict came. And it felt like a good moment to just take a look at what has happened in the last 7 years after this kind of a crime has happened, because this wasn't an act of violence that just happened to the survivor. It had its ripple effects on the industry. So in this story, that's what we're looking at. When something like this happens, what does this moment lead us to?
In fact, I would go a little further and say that it had ripple effect on Kerala society itself. It was not just a crime of that one person did on the other, how society reacted. And to my disappointment, I've really watched how when it came to court, there have been so many setbacks. There have been clear injustices from the court on this victim in many different ways. And still we are not having enough conversation about that, right? I remember when in 2017 this happened, there was also a lot of conversation later about how this was perhaps like the Harvey Weinstein moment for Kerala industry. Did you feel during your reporting that the film industry itself changed in some way or the other because of what happened?
I think that there was, so one thing we have to know very clearly, and I think News Minute also has pointed this out, is that this particular moment and what happened in the industry happened before.
It predates.
It predates the Weinstein movement. So the Weinstein movement, what most of the women told me was help them not to look crazy. Because when they came out and they started saying that this isn't a one-off incident, there is a lot of abuse within the industry. A lot of the men reacted to them saying, oh, you're just being hysterical. Why didn't you say it back then? Why is all of this coming up now? These are just angry feminists. Feminici became the term that came out at that point. And then some of the women I interviewed said that it was the Weinstein movement that gave them the language, and the men stopped and said, okay, there's something bigger happening here. So I feel like for the industry, it had... Yes, some people have become more conscious. A lot of film sets now do have an ICC in place. They do have a harassment committee in place. Women can complain. But on the other hand, it's also turned into a bit of a joke. So some of the women I interviewed said that, so now when they go on set, men refuse to sit next to them saying, oh, what if you do a Me Too? I don't know when you're going to complain about me. So women have also felt isolated. That speaking up has made them tough to work with, that they have lost opportunities, that men don't want to work with them. So for a lot of women, even taking a position has made them pay a price. So it's had in one way, it has been good. Some of the men have become conscious, but on the other hand, there are women who've lost opportunities because they decided to speak up.
So I want to go back to the crime itself. To those watching, you have to go read the story. Remember, we are a completely ad-free, no sponsors here on this platform, which means you are paying for the journalism that we do. Nidhi, of course, worked on the story for months, and that would not be possible without readers and subscribers actually contributing, becoming subscribers, and also putting money into our reporting fund. So I would say, read the story and ensure that you become a subscriber, because only then we can keep doing this kind of journalism. Nidhi, for those who are unaware, like you started saying that because you stay in Delhi, you have found that a lot of people are not aware. I myself used to be shocked. I used to tell journalists the Dileep case. They are like, what is a Dileep case? And
Who is Dileep?
I would be very offended because I have actually put in a lot of years into this story, and I would think that we all live in silos, right? We don't understand what happens just a few kilometers away, the next state, the next country. And because you mentioned Feminici, I specifically remember at that time we used to have badges. I had a bag which said, I'm a Feminici. It was such a powerful statement also, right? Women coming out and talking about their experiences. Now when I look back, this is all that we were doing during that period of time. Tell me about this crime. It was a serious crime where there was a supari or a quotation given. The actor is kidnapped in her own car and then sexually assaulted, and there is a quotation. According to the police, let's remember the trial is not over. According to the police, what was the motive and what led to this crime?
So, even in the piece, we talk about how in this particular crime, it wasn't catching the criminals that was the most difficult part, because the 6 men were arrested very quickly after the crime. In fact, some of them surrendered to the police, and then the police had to do the work of piecing together what exactly was the motive and who wanted this done. So when Dileep's name got involved, eventually the story became that there was a certain enmity between Dileep and this particular actress, and that the motive of this crime ultimately was an act of revenge. He wanted to silence her for interfering in his marital life. He was married to an actress, Manju Warrier, with whom he got a divorce after rumors about his affair with another actress, Kavya Madhavan, came about. And the motive of this particular crime was that the actress who was assaulted had interfered in his marital life with Manju Warrier, which eventually led to the divorce.
When we say divorce, when we say interfered, what you're meaning is that the actor who was assaulted had actually revealed to Manju Warrier that Dileep was having an affair with Kavya Madhavan, and that becomes the motive of the crime according to the police.
According to the police. And then they started piecing together the whole story of how there was so much anger towards this actress that she had lost acting opportunities because Dileep had removed her from multiple movies, and they used to work a lot together. And ultimately, she was isolated in the industry, and then this act of revenge happens where, according to the police, the videos were recorded to sort of threaten her and basically tell her that if you speak about this, we will release these videos. But the videos immediately managed to come into the hands of the court because the person who did it had handed it over to a lawyer who then eventually brought it to court. And the visuals are now are in the custody of the court.
But there are so many layers to that. I'll ask 2 or 3 quick questions from what you said. For those who are unaware, these visuals were handed over to the court, yes. But now there is a fear that somebody may have had access to the visual because there is a forensic report which says that the visuals could have been accessed or perhaps even leaked. Imagine the kind of fear or that the survivor now has to live with every single day, right? Even if the trial goes in her favor and everybody is convicted in this crime, there is still a danger of that visual being out there somewhere. And that I do speak to her at times, and I know that fear is very much within her. Now, also tell me, what did Dileep mean to the Malayalam film industry? Because a lot of people now have discovered Malayalam cinema, especially after the advent of OTT. But they know a different set of actors from Malayalam cinema, not Dileep necessarily. So to a generation of Malayalis, Dileep did matter. What was he for the Malayalam film industry?
So Dileep entered the industry when Mammootty and Mohanlal were basically the biggest stars at that point. They were heroes, they were alpha men, they were being the good guys in the cinema. Dileep entered as someone who made people laugh. He offered himself up for mockery. He had a huge audience amongst children, among families. His films are telecasted even now, actually, during festivals. Whenever there's a holiday, families sit around to watch Dileep movies because it allows them a moment of comic relief. It helps them forget everything else. So he became very famous because he also didn't threaten Mammootty and Mohanlal's position. He was able to become a star of the same level almost.
But his humor can be questioned now. I mean,
now in his humor is heavily questioned.
Because it's sexist.
There's a lot of sort of rape conversations that happen in the garb of humor. Rape jokes that happen in the garb of humor. And there's been, even in the piece, we look at how, in retrospect, his movies are actually extremely problematic.
But it was not just his movies, right? He was much bigger than the movies.
So movies is one aspect. Dileep also became a businessman within the industry in such a way that he had his hands in every aspect of the industry, whether it's distribution, exhibition, production. He had his own cinema theaters. He was part of all associations. He was a theater owner. In fact, now he's also gone into hospitality. So he has businesses in Dubai and Doha. And he's known to have a lot of real estate as well. So essentially, the Malayalam industry did become slightly dependent on him. He became the treasurer of the largest Malayalam artists organization. And one moment that everybody goes back to and went back to when I was interviewing was that there was a moment where there were funds that were low in the Artists Association. He managed to shoot and produce a movie called 2020, which had a star ensemble where there was Mammootty, Mohanlal, and the biggest
Suresh Gopi.
And they all acted for free. I think Mammootty took a token of 1 rupee just symbolically as salary from that particular movie. But all the money that the movie made went back into the Artists Association, and it was redistributed among artists who were struggling financially. They set up a pension fund, and all of this was led by Dilip. He's also known to be very charitable and helps
So
people in need.
it's almost like a Salman Khan story, right?
Yes.
Whenever Salman Khan is accused of a crime,
Yeah.
people will say, but he does charity,
Yeah.
right? So that conversation also comes up a lot in Kerala.
Yeah.
What was your process as a reporter? You spoke to so many people,
Yeah.
and there is an entire section which I recommend everybody should read. In fact, this story is divided into chapters. It's like a book, a small book. So in this small book, there's one chapter which deals with his superstitions.
Yeah.
As a reporter, how did you go around reporting and meeting people and getting these details out?
Yeah. So when we started working on this, the idea was to profile Dilip. And we quickly realized that a lot of people within the industry were very hesitant to talk. And he'd become this sort of figure who'd gone to jail, and then everyone wanted to talk about him. And then he'd come out, he'd found his way back into cinema, that nobody wanted to ruffle his feathers because everybody would say it's better not to mess with him. That's what we started hearing when we wanted to profile him. So then I remember having this conversation with you where we said that, okay, then let's look at what does this silence tell us. So we don't give up on the story because nobody wants to talk, but we actually then make the story about why doesn't anyone want to talk about Dilip. So I went to Kerala with that intention to kind of find people to ask, so why are you scared and why don't you want to talk? And then people started saying all these things that are, just there is a certain paranoia and there's a certain air that has been created around him as someone who is deeply superstitious. So we've been hearing stories of his occult practices, that he's into black magic, that he's very particular, that
which we don't know. Like, people are saying that there's rumor after rumor.
It's rumors after rumor, but what this rumor has done is successfully create a certain kind of silence around him, that nobody wants to mess with him. And for me, there was an interesting part in the story where, yes, these are things we will struggle to corroborate, but what these rumors have succeeded in doing is keep people quiet and keep people scared. So we don't know if he does that or not. But the fact that he can do itself has put him in a position of power. And that has done something to women around him, that has done something to people who work with him, that has done something to the industry. And within the industry, it's become itself. So someone was describing that now there is the pro-Dilip gang and the anti-Dilip gang, and people who support Dilip don't work with people who don't support Dilip, and all these kind of camps that have come about within the industry. And women have actually spoken about, yes, there is a pro and anti-Dilip gang, but it's also somehow become synonymous with either being pro-women or anti-women, this case, because of what the movement did. That essentially supporting Dilip means that you don't support the women in the industry who've been speaking up about abuse. And if you support the women in the industry, you're saying that Dilip did this, which is actually not true. So a lot of the women pointed out that when we are saying that we are feminists and we don't want to put up with the abuse, it is not synonymous with Dilip did this. So the case has basically muddled so much of narratives, and it has become. So that was the interesting part in reporting this case, right? Like, looking at how this one incident has taken such a personal toll on people in the industry and eventually in the society as well.
So when you say movement, when Nidhi says movement, to explain it, immediately after the assault happened, a group of women actors, directors, technicians, they had gone and met the then Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan. Of course, he continues to be Chief Minister, but they had then formed an organization called the WCC, or the Women in Cinema Collective. She also spoke about how now in every Malayalam cinema set, there has to be an internal committee, an IC, which looks into sexual harassment. That is only because WCC went to court and said that the POSH Act has to be implemented. It is their big victory. In fact, I always complain to WCC that they don't talk enough about their big victory, but it is their big victory that ICs are there in every Malayalam cinema set now. Whether they function or not, at least there is some symbol of hope, right? I've spoken to a lot of young actors who say that though WCC may have gotten all the flack, they're made fun of a lot, they definitely have contributed to making the Malayalam film industry a bit more safer, a bit more conscious. What did you feel about the movement?
So I felt like there is definitely a sense of caution and fear that men have, which I think is great. That if anything, even if they're making fun of the women, they do think twice before saying something or doing something.
And the Bayam Venu, we'll say, right? Like that. And the Bayam Venu in
And the
Tamil.
Bayam.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there is that fear. But when I would interview men, I would always ask them, so what did the movement, what do you think of the movement? And the way they would describe it, they would never say it was a useless movement, but essentially they would say that, at every point there will be a union for everything. Like auto drivers have union, taxi drivers have union. Like that now, at this moment, women have their own association and they feel like they should say something. So good. But all the men would also be like, so why didn't they say it when it happened? And then there was the other side of jokes that were coming out where they were actually, without realizing, implicating themselves by saying that if I do this small thing and you say me too, then imagine all the things you have to say me too for the things that I have done before. Right? So I do think that there is an awareness, there is fear and there is caution, but that fear and caution is just coming from not wanting to engage. It's essentially leading to men not wanting to engage and then saying, oh, they are angry feminists. There's a very small group of men who, yes, have stood as allies from the beginning of the movement. They have been very clear about, like, for example, one of the people we spoke to, Ashik Abu, has been very clear from the beginning. He has stood with the WCC movement. His films do have a very clear posh committee. They do have systems in place to address these issues. But it's not the case throughout the industry.
You spoke about caution in the film industry, that the Malayalam film industry post Dileep getting booked and the WCC being formed, there is some caution. But in your story, there is a disturbing part about in your article where you have gone to a set where Dileep was working and one of the actors misbehaved with you. So that is also an irony, right? It is his set. And even there, people are not being careful. People are not being cautious.
Yeah. So essentially what happened was we went to interview Dileep. We have obviously been working on a story on this man, and it only made sense to have his version of events. So we reached out, we tried to meet him. It was, a lot of people said it's going to be very difficult. He's not going to speak. He's very careful now that he has this case on him. But we managed to somehow be present at a place where he was doing promotions for one of his movies. And there was an actor who had acted in this movie of his who ended up misbehaving with me. It was largely verbal. But I think the reason why we also decided to include this in the story and have it as a section was to basically point out the brazenness. And I left that moment sort of thinking that here's a man who's being conspired of rape. He has hired someone to work with him who already has multiple allegations of sexual misbehavior being levied on him. And there is not even a posturing of saying that I'm trying to create a safe environment around me. Or if you're claiming to be innocent, you're not even trying to symbolically show that, oh, I'm innocent, I don't work with the wrong kind of people, or that I ensure to create a safe environment. That's how brazen it was in the industry. So it definitely was a moment of irony that we're trying to report on a story like this and this sort of an incident happened. And the reason we included it as part of the story was to show how emboldened, and there's a sense of impunity, right? Like we will do whatever we want to do and can get away with it. So that was the reason why we included it in the story. And it was definitely quite an irony to have to experience that moment while working on a story like this.
So that's all, and thank you, Nidhi. For everyone watching, do go to the newsminute.com and News Laundry and read the article. We also have to mention illustrations done by Shambhavi, edits by Lakshmi Priya. Everyone's been working on the story with Nidhi, who has reported for many weeks and patiently written down all conversations. In fact, Nidhi is one of those people who has large Google Drives. Megha, who worked with you on the research. Yes. A story takes a lot of people to put it together. And that kind of effort goes it's not just the reporting, right? You have to then edit it, you have to illustrate it, there's research done. It takes a lot of effort. And as I keep saying in every video, in every story, all this is not possible without your support. So do read the story. Remember, the case is coming to an end. So this story will perhaps put things in perspective for you. And do continue watching the News Minute and News Laundry. Thank you.